Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for taking part in our project. As mentioned, our subject today is going to be welding line, cleaning lines, all of that automated. So we're talking about pass-through lines and all the options that are available to you for hardware pre-location and data transfer, anything that can be done on those lines. The reason I chose this subject today really is because in the last few months, I've had a lot of conversation with window manufacturers, and there seem to be either some misinformation or misunderstanding from a lot of people on knowing exactly what can be done automatically on welding lines. So this is the reason why we're doing this today. I will go through some simple layouts with you guys, step by steps, and showing you exactly all the details that can be improved into your factory with buying newer equipment, such as is done today. Very pleased to present to you my guests for today's webinar. We do have Dan Gray, Director of Sales at Roto North America, on the line. He's not with us today since we are trying to do some social distancing, and we are so good at it that we're actually in two different countries. So Dan, how are you today?
Martin, hello. Thank you very much. Doing fantastic. Hopefully all of our viewers are staying safe and healthy during this unprecedented time of the pandemic.
All right, Dan, thank you very much to be with us. What are going to be your subjects today?
Today, we're going to explore some of the hardware trends in the window and door market throughout North America. And after doing so, we'll take a brief look into Roto and what we offer for the North American market in regards to manufacturing and any products that help address some of these trends in the market today.
Perfect. Can't wait to hear your part. Just for some of you that were on the first presentation that we did 2 months ago, we decided to switch platform. The reason why we changed it was because Zoom was not allowing us to do high definition anymore. Since there's so much demand on their server. So we switched to this new platform today. It's our second time doing it on this one. We did French a month ago, and the nice thing about it is that we're actually able to send questions your way. You're gonna have at a few times during my presentation and Dan's presentation, questions that are gonna pop up on your screen. As easy as taking your mouse, you're going to be able to answer those questions. If you can please do so, it's giving us a very nice feedback, some very nice information for us to have for future communication with you guys. Here's a little video of how you can ask your own questions so we can answer in our Q&A at the end of the presentation. All right, so today's subject, automated welding, fabrication, and cleaning lines. There's a lot of questioning that's been going around why automating. So the easy answer would be the lack of labor, quality of work, aging machinery, productivity, worker better workflows. There's a lot of ways to look at the investment that can be done on your part. The biggest advantages really are operation speed, handling reduction, employees reduction, and tasks being done in hidden time. So these are the things that we're going to go through with you during this presentation today. So the first image I'm going to use today is a layout of just a typical pass-through line. There are two of them on the screen right now. The one on top would be for frames, and the one at the bottom would be for sashes. But just keep in mind that those sizes are really up to what you're looking for. We can shorter down any of those measurements to whatever you require. We can go bigger than that also. So just a quick look at this layout. I'm going to be coming back to it a few times during my presentation, but just so we're all looking at the same thing, if we're going left to right, on the left side, you're seeing the welders. In the middle, you're seeing a fab center that's also on the cooling station. And after that, you're seeing a pass-through corner cleaner. So I'm just going to go very quickly over that. There's a lot of good solutions, just one ID of the layout. And I'm going to send you the first question your way. How are you breaking down your production? So on this layout, I'm showing a layout of someone that would separate frames from sashes, but maybe you're separating with families, so casement and hung and slider on one side. Maybe you're doing sash and frames. Maybe you're doing everything on the same machines, which is also fine. I'm just curious of knowing what your production looks like as it is today. So first step, if we are looking at welders, second question for you guys, are you welding vertically or horizontally? The biggest difference between those two machines would usually is people thinking that the vertical machine takes less room. But when you're looking at your layout, you're probably going to see that there's a lot of space that is lost if you're welding vertically, because you have to manually unload the machine, where when you're thinking horizontally, you're then giving you a chance to automate all of your process. So if you're asking me what's the best solution out there, horizontal would be the best solution, because we all know that the windows are getting bigger and bigger, so it's a lot of handling from your staff to be carrying around windows. So if you're giving a chance to your employees and also giving a chance to your window to cool down in a better situation, horizontal is the best way to go. So the whole lack of space, I love to debate on it, because I don't believe that it's very accurate anymore to think that a vertical welder takes less room than horizontal. You're doing the layout the right way. Then the second question that we have lately would be the difference between a conventional welder and a high-speed welder. So first of all, if I'm only thinking price, there is a very slight difference between a high-speed welder and a conventional welder. So high-speed welder is everything is moved by the servo drive instead of being just a mechanical movement. So everything is very easier to control. So you always have like that perfect square, where the conventional welder, you're always going to be welding to what size you're telling the machine to go. So here's my explanation. I'm going to use this iPad to show you what I mean. Let's say you're doing a window that's 1,000 by 1,000. So you're going to be cutting that frame at 1,006 in your mind to melt 3 millimeters each side and getting to your 1,000 by 1,000. So what happens if you're actually cutting 1,007 or 1,008 meters that day for any good reasons? Well, your conventional welder, what it's going to do is it's going to position itself at 1006, not knowing that it's 1008, and it's going to push on it to try to bring it at 1000. So at the end of the day, you're going to have a window that's going to be maybe 1001, maybe 1002, or you're going to bend your machine that you're going to have to do some service eventually, because you're always forcing on your heat plates and your positioning plates. When you're thinking high-speed welders, you're going to think that it's a servo motor. So with the biggest advantage for Rotox in this field would be that the machine is actually measuring the parts that you're going to put in it. So let's say you're putting your 1008 part instead of 1006. The machine is going to be like, oh, wait, your part is longer than it should be, so I'm going to melt an extra 1 millimeter each side. So you're going to be melting 4 instead of 3. The end result is going to be your final is going to be at 1000 by 1000, and nothing is going to force against the machine mechanics. So that way you're always getting your perfect square. So it works all around. You could have a 1008, 1007 on one side, 1005. If you're shorter than the measurements we're asking for, there's actually a security thing in the machine that's going to pop up on the screen saying to the operator, you're actually too short. Maybe you want to recut your part. So there's a lot of ways to avoid mistakes that way, and it's always also avoiding a lot of maintenance on the long run of your machine. Also, just keep in mind that a better weld is always taking you to a better clean. So it's a lot easier. And if you're going down the line, if you're going to when you're putting your glass in, if you know that your measurements is right, if you're putting glass stops, if you're doing a hybrid window, extensions, all of those, just keep in mind that as long as you're keeping that 1000 by 1000 square, it's going to be much easier to build down the line. You're avoiding a lot of mistakes and a lot of returns. Also, the machine has the data. So if you're on the edge of thinking about 4.0 for your factory, just know that all this information stays into the machine. So just for an example, you could have some sort of a Tiger stop that is receiving a live feed from the welder saying that the glass stop measurements. So what I mean by that is that if you're taking again that 1000 window, for any good reason, you're getting 999 millimeters at the end. Well, the welder is going to know. So the welder is going to communicate with your glass top cutting station, and it's going to tell you, the operator, to what measure to cut the glass top that's going to be going into the sash that's coming down the line. So when you're going to be ready to install your glass top, you know that it's going to be 100% fit. Again, you're not going to have to do retakes. You're not going to have to. You're avoiding a lot of mistakes that way. Then resting area. So there's two ways to look at it. You could have either just a typical resting area that your window stays there. Meanwhile, there's a part in the welder and a part in the corner cleaner. You could just stay there and rest. This, I would say, is mandatory. You don't want to be taking a part directly from the welder straight to the corner cleaner. You're going to create some problems down the line. But then what can we do on this line to gain some time in our factory? So very ergonomic solution. It's actually creating a lot of space in your factory, and you're working in hidden time. So what we can do on those tables would be everything that's being done like in the middle of the part, and it has to be parallel with the line movement. So if you're thinking about a frame, you could be pre-drilling for mullions, your holes. So either on casement frame or hung in slider. So hung in sliders are going to be, the heads are going to be coming from the inside, and casement, the head's going to be coming from the outside of the window. But the biggest advantage there would be that you're drilling a welded square instead of pre-drilling holes into a bar that you don't know what's going to happen in the welder. Is it going to be welding perfectly square or not? So doing those fabrication after the part is being welded is a much better solution, down to your installation of the sashes that are going to go, and the mullions. Make sure that they're not crooked. If you have somewhere like a 2/3, 1/3 type window, you're going to make sure that this mullion is going to be very straight. If you're looking at the sash line, you're going to be able to do pre-location of some hardware, so keepers and snubbers, and you're going to be able also to do clips for fixed sashes if you have a system that you're actually using as a full sash to do your fixed window. That's another solution that we could do on this table. So you're not installing the hardware, but you're pre-drilling the parts. So when you're going to be at your assembly tables, it's going to be much easier for your employees to know where the hardware is going, if it's a left or right, or any questioning that would come out there, that they would have to do some digging into their paperwork and try to assemble the window as fast as possible. So, corner cleaners. First of all, every corner cleaners that we sell these days, we guarantee 100% the cleaning. So no more end cleaning. We're going to be sending a question your way. Are you doing any hand cleaning? By hand cleaning, I mean someone with a knife in his hand finishing the work of what should have been done on the corner cleaner. So the answers are yes, no, or please don't mention it, because you have too many people doing it right now. So we are definitely attacking worker safety. We're attacking the quality of your product, because if you have someone that finishes the window with a knife and you have 2 employees, you might get 2 different finish on every single windows because they don't work the same way. And there's a lot of reason why you want to avoid that. And obviously the biggest reason would be not having this employee on the line and make him do something else than that, to be an added value to your factory, instead of just doing what a machine should be doing. Again, not mandatory on corner cleaners, but when you're looking at pass-through cleaners, you're looking at options to help with your ergonomy of your workflow. So we're able to do some pre-location of hardware. So when we're looking at casement and awning sashes, we're talking about hinges location, corner brackets, operator arm. And when we're going into hung and slider windows, we're looking at pivot bars, tilt latch, night latch. That could be pre-drill. Again, hidden time, and it's saving labor down the line if you have to do it on some other machine. So you're saving square footage on your factory floor as well as employees. So very important to keep in mind. So the return on investment, it's the biggest question I always get. There's lots of way to look at it. Like I said before, I've mentioned it a few times. Less labor, no hand cleaning, fewer workstation for fabrication. We're working a lot in hidden time task, speeding installation at your assembly tables. We're doing a higher productivity when we're talking like high-speed lines. We're down to somewhere around 1 minute per square instead of 2 minutes per square if we're going conventional welders. Less mistakes, easier training for your staff, because the machine has done a lot on your windows when you get to the assembly table, and obviously a better quality window. There's lots of way to calculate your return on investment. I think it's just a matter of sitting down, looking at your factory, and it's something that us at JSA can help you guys with. But it really is different from one factory to the other because issues are not at the same place everywhere. Just to show you a different ID, because some of you are going to say, well, this looks good, but I don't have the amount of, I don't have to do 400 windows a day. I only do somewhere around 120 or 150 windows a day. So this is way too big for our production. But you want to keep an automated mind to your factory and to your future investment. So this layout here, again, high-speed welder. The reason why we're putting a high-speed welder there is because of the quality that comes out of it and the data information that we can bring elsewhere in your factory. But it could easily be a conventional welder at this point. We're putting in the middle. It's just a typical resting area. We could be doing some fab on it if you would want to do some fab. And there's a single head corner cleaner with a rotation table. So this way you're automated. There's only one operator that runs the welder, and there's someone at the end that unloads the machine, and you're in automated mindset. Same output with 2 employees. You could have a twin head corner cleaner there. The single head corner cleaner does not have any options for hardware location, such as the pass-through corner cleaner. But the twin head corner cleaner, you could be doing, for example, tilt latch, pivot bars, night latch on a twin head corner cleaner. But then you would need an employee in front of it to load and unload the machine. So it would give you just about the same cycle time than the one head corner cleaner with the turning station. So it's just IDs to keep in mind. And the last, for fun, the last layout here, it's kind of a tease to a future presentation I'm going to do. But we're going to be discussing what happens after the corner cleaner. On this layout here, we can see on the left side, we see the 2 lines, 2 welding lines and corner cleaners, but we're automating the rest of the factory. So this could be done either with a 1 head corner cleaner, turning station, and we unload automatically to assembly tables, or we can go all the way to pass-through lines. There's lots of ways again to look at this. And there's IDs for everyone in every sizes of factory. So just open your mind, and that's going to be much nicer to think about the future factory that you can have. All right, so we're going to go to Q&A.
All right. We have Doug that is asking, what is the best welding option for a laminated profile?
Okay, so there is different options there. Obviously, I'm guessing your question goes around the seamless welding. There is options for seamless welding, but there is also options for that you don't need a seamless welder necessarily. There's fixtures that have been created that you're avoiding to clean your weld on your apparent faces, which is a lot less important investment that you're going to have to do. Just changing your tooling instead of changing the machine. So there's kind of 2 ways to look at it. But if you're actually looking at changing your welder at the same time, yes, solutions such as seamless weld would be the best solution with laminated windows. I believe that would be the best since you're not doing any touch-ups on laminated windows.
Okay. Would you suggest double stacking at the welder?
Okay, so no, I do not suggest double welding at the welder. The reason behind it is that if you're thinking a high-speed welder with a pass-through corner cleaner, the welder is going to give you 1 part every minute, and the corner cleaner is going to be cleaning 1 part every minute. So what's the purpose of welding two pieces and only being able to clean one, then the only purpose you would have for that would be either to have two corner cleaners and do a much bigger production, but then you have to think, am I always going to have two parts the same size to be welded? And the other options you could look at double stacking would be actually using two floors and avoiding two tool change-ups. So if you're, let's say, doing the frame on the bottom and sashes on top, so you're avoiding to do any tool change-ups, but you're not necessarily welding two parts at the same time. You're just using the machine second floor on that.
Is there a smaller solution?
So, well, like I've shown, there's a smaller solution with a single head corner cleaner, but you could always go with different solutions such as standalone machines, welder corner cleaners. But again, I'm always going to suggest the horizontal welder instead of the vertical welder. You could go for a single head corner cleaner, and as a second investment, maybe at some point hooking up both of them together if it's a reason of budget wise or space in your factory that you don't want that big turning station. But eventually, if you want to grow your volume, it could be something that could be done in a second phase on the machine.
Okay, last question. Are you ready for the Industrial 4.0?
So 4.0, the easy answer would be yes, we are ready for 4.0. Such as you've seen, we're going to be able to send information from the welder to cutting devices. So if you're thinking about sending a list to your glass tops, if you're thinking about sending a list to your hybrid station, to your extension station, but also you're able to drag some information out of the welder, such as if you've been welding parts that are too long all day. Well, the information is going to be in the welder computer, so it's just a matter. The 4.0 here would be just a matter of dragging that information and analyzing that information. But the data is really easy to use at that point because it's all in there. Every single machine is driven by a computer, so there's lots of ways to get the information down there. So we're gonna switch to Dan. Sorry, there's gonna be a short video. Meanwhile, Dan is getting prepared, and after this video, Dan will be talking to us about his part of the market.
Martin, that was a fantastic presentation. There is definitely a strong link between fabrication equipment and the installation of hardware. So now let's turn our sights to some trends in the North American market. Interestingly, Martin mentioned that windows are getting bigger and bigger. Of no coincidence, my first trend is that windows are getting bigger and bigger, taller, heavier, wider. This creates an excellent opportunity for fabricators and hardware suppliers to collaborate together to bring good performing products to the market. Second trend we see is ease of functionality. This especially is meant to relate to doors. Sliding patio doors in North America are growing at twice the rate of windows, and homeowners are expecting ease of functionality with their larger doors, one finger functionality of their sash. This requires, in particular, high performing rollers to give that functionality. The style of the hardware is becoming very important, especially to the end users, the homeowners. The contemporary straight lines will maximize the sight lines through the glazing area, both doors and windows. The color palette, really important today. Black is in. I think probably all of us are experiencing black as a predominant color today. And what is interesting, in certain markets, we're seeing brass and gold making a strong comeback. Energy performance, of course, is a very important topic for all of us, and passive house certification is on the rise. This requires new hardware applications and high-performing spacers and gaskets. Talking about ease of installation for hardware, this ties directly into the equipment that JSA is promoting. We, as Roto, deal with an array of customers. Some have more equipment than others. On certain occasions, we work with those customers to provide various fixtures and jigs to help locate the hardware correctly. And regarding the ease of hardware installation, we'll provide products with pre-installed gaskets, guide housings attached to tie bars, and customized kits. Smart home and automation technologies, huge conversation and topic in the fenestration market today. This is an area where we continue to see innovation and growth. Finally, hardware to satisfy ADA requirements, the American Disability Act, such as low profile thresholds and very low operational forces of doors and windows. Now we're going to turn our attention to Roto North America and some of our competencies as a hardware supplier. We opened in 1979 in the US market in Chester, Connecticut. And today we have two manufacturing plants, the one in Chester and one in Mississauga, Ontario. Our three main product groups that we go to market with are casement, sliding patio door, and the European tilt and turn hardware. Our tagline is excellence in window and door hardware. And we aim to achieve this by providing high product quality and a high service quality for an excellent value proposition for our customers. Let's look at a couple of slides of manufacturing that we have in North America. This is a snapshot of our plant in Chester. We've got about 64,000 square feet and over 80 employees. The next slide is going to give you a very short video of one of our innovative 5-axis lasers that we utilize to cut flat steel for our operator arms, both cold roll steel and stainless steel. Each sheet will contain about 500 operator arms that once cut are then punched out of the steel, of course, vibed and either powder coat painted or if stainless steel, simply the vibratory process. Now we take a sneak peek at the manufacturing facility in Mississauga. We have about 55,000 square feet and over 70 employees there. We have invested heavily in this facility the last few years with new equipment We've added floor space, gaining the available space next door to us. And that facility primarily produces our sliding patio door hardware today. The next video is going to give you just a quick look at one of our new Freck die cast machines that is state-of-the-art, robotic in nature, that has given us tremendous productivity gains. Okay, now we're going to turn our attention to our flagship product, casement and awning hardware. Quick overview. Roto offers two platforms, OP08 and OP06. Both have a unique footprint. We offer an array of crank handle styles, cover cap styles, and I'll highlight our innovative lockout crank handle. When we talk about ease of functionality, this lockout crank handle provides the ultimate in stability when a user is opening and closing the casement sash. In final test phase is our heavy-duty X-Drive operator. This new product will address the growing trend of larger windows in the market, and with our heavy-duty hinge will allow a fabricator to build a casement window up to 200 pounds with standard hardware processing. Very important detail. Sliding patio door hardware, as I mentioned, is produced primarily in the Mississauga plant. And this is an array of the different handle sets that we offer to the market. We try to create a family of products for a good, better scenario. You can see the 9700 and 9700 Euro have a very similar style, although just a different size. Similar with the 96 and 9900 handle series. The 9600 is our newly introduced product as a just right value product for the marketplace. And then on the premium side, and addresses the trend in contemporary design, is our 9100D. This large handle stays within the width of the door style, so it does not encroach into the glazing area. Important for sightline benefit, also important to not interfere with any blinds that may be between the panes. Tilt and turn hardware is our third primary product group in North America and is built on our heritage. Roto's founder developed tilt and turn hardware back in 1935 to actuate this common window in Europe. The tilt and turn window is very similar to our single and double hung windows here in North America in its form of commonality throughout the market. Basically, this hardware can be combined today with the X-Drive rotary operator to create a bill of materials for a window fabricator that will result in very high performance, very high weight. The Designo hinges on a tilt turn window will hold the sash up to about 330 pounds. Now, combined with a rotary operator, that weight capacity is going to be more in the 250 range. And there are some window fabricators looking at this bill of materials today to give themselves a competitive edge in the marketplace. In closing, I just want to refer everybody to our website. If you have an interest to learn more about Roto and the hardware solutions we offer to the marketplace, rotonorthamerica.com. And I think everybody will be given my contact information as well if there's any direct questions after this webinar. I want to thank everybody very much for your attendance today.
So Dan,
Martin, I believe now we're going to take some questions from the audience.
yes, we're going to take some questions. First question, are you seeing increase in tilt and turn windows in the market?
I think we may be having tech.
Sorry, we were muted. Are you seeing an increase for tilt and turn windows in the market?
Most definitely, we are seeing a huge increase. I've been with Roto now, and at that point in time, we had maybe 8 or 9 fabricators building tilt and turn windows in North America. Today, we have well over 100, and just about every PVC extruder has introduced a European product platform on one level or another.
All right, second question. What type of location jigs are you using for casement hardware?
In particular, for our tie bar series, we use steel jigs on our laser, and we ship those out to brand new customers to give them the assistance they need to accurately and consistently locate the strikers. We find that the accurate location of hardware, repeated consistently, will greatly limit the number of field service calls that result once those windows are installed in the field.
All right, third question. Are you seeing new locking system for larger sliding patio doors?
That's a great question, because the doors, without a doubt, are getting taller. They're getting wider. Right now, we actually have a roadmap project in place for a new multi-point mortise lock we hope to launch toward the end of 2021 that will help address the larger, say, 10, 12-foot sliding patio doors.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dan, for taking part in this presentation. We will have an announcement very soon for our next subject. It's actually going to be everything that happens before welding and cleaning lines, so saws and some fab centers that we're going to discuss. It's going to be happening live during the Windoor Marketplace event with Fenestration Canada. Again, Dan, I cannot hear you right now, but I just want to say thank you very much for taking part in this today. It was greatly appreciated to have you and the Roto team for our presentation.
Fantastic. And Martin, thank you again.
If you want to say a quick word to everyone,
much appreciated.
Go ahead. All right, so this is going to be it for today. Again, stay tuned. We are going to make some announcement for the next webinar coming up in November. Thank you very much.